Black woman, a daughter, sister, aunt, educator, and I am here because in these unprecedented times, the work of true liberation and healing for ourselves and the students and teachers we serve in Hopewell requires us to lean on the strength of the past, heal from the pain of the present, and work together to change the trajectory of our future. We all stand on the powerful shoulders of the brave souls of past generations who have waded through the deep troubled waters of fear and uncertainty, climbed the steep mountains of resistance, and walked through the dark valley of brokenness. I personally come from a family lineage of men and women who have dedicated their entire lives to serving the young people in their families, schools, and communities. My great-great-great-grandmother, Mom Nancy, was born a slave in Pennsylvania County in 1858. At the tender age of 8, she experienced her first taste of freedom when the Civil War ended. She became the community's revered midwife and safely delivered hundreds of white babies throughout the county. Even though she knew that the same babies would likely grow up and be taught by the world to devalue her worth and the worth of her own children, because of the color of her skin, she still offered up her hands in selfless sacrifice to the white families she served day and night. Eventually, she saved enough money to purchase her own land and became the first Black in her community to own a vehicle and have running water in her house. I would sit at the feet of my grandfather, Alfred L. Jones II, whom we fondly called Papa. He retold priceless stories of how he had worked as an industrial arts teacher in the Lynchburg City Public School System for over 38 years. And in a time where schools were segregated, he believed that every one of his Black students was brilliant. With the highest of expectations, my grandfather challenged them to use their minds to think like a scientist and their hands to design and build like the innovators he had the faith to believe that they would one day become. But although schools were segregated, many white people were still threatened as they began to see the progression of Blacks, because with the expansion of their minds also came new possibilities to provide better housing for their families. My father shared that when he was in 8th grade, they moved into an all-white neighborhood, and Black people had to pay a white lawyer to buy nicer homes or risk physical harm back then. A few days later, the entire family woke up early one morning to find billows of smoldering Black smoke rising from a burning cross the KKK had placed in their front yard while they were sleeping. But Papa knew that ignorance and intimidation would not keep them out of their house or their school buildings. And his deep commitment to educational excellence and innovation remained unwavering until the day he retired. At the age of 23, my own father married my mom and moved them both to Appomattox, Virginia, a small Civil War town where it was common to see Confederate flags on the back of pickup trucks and front porches of our neighbors. My mom dedicated her life mission to staying home to raise us and supporting my dad with his radical vision of reaching all of the underserved youth within a 30-mile radius of our community. But with little money and only cinder blocks to lay the foundation, he was met with much resistance, including from the local banks who believed it was a waste of his time to reach young people who were stuck in generational cycles of drugs, violence, and incarceration, and whose parents were uneducated and living on welfare. But through the deep sacrifice and determination, the walls did go up. And years later, a state-of-the-art family life center equipped with multiple classrooms and a gymnasium was built next to it. For 40 years, my parents poured their heart and soul into the work before retiring. And because of their sacrifices and faithfulness, Faith, Leanne, and I were all blessed to pursue our dreams of becoming a doctor, entrepreneur, and educator. But what do we do when our strength turns into deep pain and brokenness, and the solid ground we once stood on crumbles beneath us. I myself was reeling from my own dark despair during the pandemic. My mom, my confidant, my best friend, and guiding light had taken her last breath on December 14th, 2020. And my heart and mind and soul felt completely shattered. With the wind knocked out of me, I fell hard and fast, and all I could do was sit in my brokenness and brace myself for the overwhelming waves of despair that was washing over me daily. And at the same time, our students in Hopewell were also beginning to come back into our school buildings, and they were reeling from their own grief and loss as well. Many of them were lashing out in anger and fighting and disengaged in their learning. It was a cry for help. And when so many others were focused on learning loss, we began creating the emotionally brave and courageous spaces for our students to engage in the process of what Dr. Pleasure calls clean versus dirty pain, unpacking their own lived experiences and lifting up the beautiful stories of their loved ones. And in the same spaces, we gave our students the permission to grapple with their lived experiences around racial violence, social injustices, and cultural identity crisis. During the Capitol riots, Ajane shared her raw and painful truth on what it means to be Black in America.
Being Black in America is. I'm a 17-year-old queer Black woman who lives in Virginia. A smooth girl who tries to speak my truth with charisma. A girl who doesn't know the weight of being Black in America. Being Black in America is scared to voice my opinion when oppressors are in my school system. Worried my fellow Black peers won't stand with me but will stand with them. Being Black in America is systemic racism being a regular routine, Black kings and queens not knowing where they come from, but hyping up a look they can never achieve. Being Black in America is being afraid. It takes a meeting, an investigation to fire a racist teacher, but a single no to silence my voice so no one can reach her. This needs to change. Being Black in America is aiding the school-to-prison pipeline to justify Black boys being incarcerated before they were born. Being Black in America is feeling frustrated. Always being labeled as the angry Black woman for speaking against inequality, laughed at in the face of the oppressed as if this were a comedy. I want to feel heard. I'm counting the Black bodies in the hallways, wondering if I'll never see them again. Bloodshed. I want to be a kid. Being Black in America is wanting to speak out. Being Black in America is having so much you want to say, but not knowing how to convey the feelings that you have. Being Black in America is being silent. Being Black in America is not wanting to be reduced to being just a slave. Being Black in America is realizing that not every Black boy can be saved. Being Black in America is beautifully broken. Being Black in America is...
And Chris shared how he plans to stand in the gap for his future son and not only disrupt the cycle of physically absent fathers, but also change the narrative and make himself emotionally available to show the affection and love he lacked as a child. In his piece, I Will Kiss My Son.
But this poem is called I Will Kiss My Son. I will kiss my son. I will hold my son. I will tell my son, I love you. See, most men call this being weak. But me, I'll call this being a father. In a world where young Black men get kissed by bullets and held in caskets and only told, I love you, while they lay on their deathbed. Because dads cease to exist in Black households, where mothers are fathers that work 2 jobs trying to provide food while keeping the lights on, yet she always seems to feel like she failed. Yet she doesn't understand that she passes every test and exam. And why? Because even she knows that she can't tell you how to be a man. But she still studies for an exam she shouldn't have to take to teach a man she has not alone helped make and expect for him to survive in a world that his own sake. See, my son will never wonder why his dad didn't love him or wonder why his dad was never there. My son will only run with the math games and speak in intelligence slangs, you know, PEMDAS, exponents, multiply, divide, those type of things. I will raise my son like the sun in the east, and I will pick him up if he falls in the west. See, I will teach my son that because he's black, he'll be called a nigga. I'm gonna also teach my son how to make triple the figure. See, me, I will kiss my son before the bullets. I will hold my son before the caskets. And I will tell my son I love him before he meets his deathbed. I will raise my son.
Although we have no perfect answers for this tremendous work, and we fell forward every day, our hope is to help our students become the authors of their own personal narratives and keep asking this simple question: what is the one thing you think students need right now in Hopewell? The last time we asked this question, responses poured in from elementary and secondary students, and they all came back to this one simple yet powerful concept: finding the one who will love you unconditionally and whose shoulders you can stand on, who will meet you in your brokenness, and who will learn with you and help you grow. And most importantly, the one who will help you become the best version of yourself. And I was really blessed in my own brokenness to have these wonderful, amazing people in my life, and some of them are in this room, and I lift you up and honor you today. And in closing, if we all come together, if we lean on our strength of the past and we sit in our pain and heal in the present, we can learn to lift up the next generation so that one day we can all see the glory and freedom and liberation and heal as an entire nation for future generations to come. Thank you.
When the glory